Good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, Joe Biden seeks an end to wars in his final speech as U.S. President at the UN General Assembly. Vice President Duterte still a no-show at the House plenary debates on the 2025 budget. The second hearing on the use of OVP funds also underway without her. And the Duke of Sussex warning parents about the harmful effects of social media on their children at an event in New York. Thank you for joining us. Joe Biden confronts a global turmoil head-on in his final speech as President of the United States before the UN General Assembly in New York. But even from the horrors of war, Biden says there's always a way forward. Eugene Adalia tells us more.
Today is the fourth time I've had the great honor of speaking to this assembly as President of the United States. It'll be my last.
As the American leader stood before the UN General Assembly, wars rage in the Middle East, with Israel battling Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
The world must not flinch from the horrors of October 7th. Any country would have the right and responsibility to ensure that such an attack can never happen again.
And Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible.
A diplomatic solution, Biden says, that world leaders should come up with sooner rather than later.
Gaza is not the only conflict that deserves our outrage. In Sudan, a bloody civil war unleashed one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. 8 million on the brink of famine. Hundreds of thousands already there. Atrocities in Darfur and elsewhere.
With just 4 months left, Biden's presidency has also been dominated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022.
The good news is Putin's war has failed at his core aim. He set out to destroy Ukraine, but Ukraine is still free. He set out to weaken NATO, but NATO is bigger, stronger, more united than ever before, with 2 new members, Finland and Sweden. But we cannot let up.
But in a speech dominated by chaos and conflict, Biden ends on a hopeful note.
My fellow leaders, there's nothing that's beyond our capacity if we work together. Let's work together. God bless you all, and may God protect all those who seek peace. Thank you.
Eugene Adalia, BNC.
Sobering reminder on the real toll of wars. 15,000 teddy bears dressed in black shirts on display in Qatar to pay tribute to the children killed in the war in Gaza. Dubbed Echo of Lost Innocence, the exhibit also aims to raise funds for the Palestinian enclave. 100% of proceeds from each teddy bear sold will be donated to the children of Gaza. The artist behind the installation says he wants the public to be reminded the young lives lost in the war are not just numbers. Turning to the West Philippine Sea dispute now, as Manila is readying a diplomatic response to the Chinese shadowing of a Philippine aircraft over Scarborough Shoal. The latest incident involves a Chinese helicopter flying dangerously close to an aircraft of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources patrolling the area. Aside from the helicopter, a Chinese Coast Guard vessel and several Chinese maritime militias were also spotted near Scarborough Shoal.
Itong pangyayaring ito ay again makakarating at nire-report sa Department of Foreign Affairs, and surely it will form part of their report to come up with a North Merval or a diplomatic protest.
Vice President Duterte skips the second House hearing on the use of her office's budget and the Education Department's funds during her stint. Our reporter Zandro Ochona is on the scene at the Batasang Pambansa for an update. Zandro. Sandro?
The House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability has resumed its investigation on how the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education, both under VP Sara Duterte's watch in 2023 and 2024, spent their funds. But in a letter sent to Committee Chairman Joel Chua, Duterte said she will not attend today's hearing. In the letter, Duterte claimed the inquiry is based on unsubstantiated allegations during Congressman Rolando Valeriano's privileged speech. She is also requesting a copy of a draft House bill to ensure the discussions would be relevant to the subject matter. The Vice President also said the committee lacks any clear legislative objective as an outcome of the deliberations. For his part, Chua denies allegations that today's hearing is merely a political exercise or an attack on anyone.
I have heard, and I assume many of us here have heard, accusations and insinuations regarding this committee and these proceedings, implying that this is somehow a political exercise or an attack on an individual. I would like to make things very clear. This is not the case.
My lawyers from the Office of the Vice President and other DepEd officials are present in today's hearing. Mai?
Thank you. Sandro Ochona reporting from the Batasang Pambansa. House lawmakers are expected to finish plenary debates on the 2025 budget today, the last session day before Congress adjourns to give way to the filing of certificates of candidacy next week. Hannah T is on the scene monitoring the deliberations. Hannah, go ahead.
Today is the final day of the House plenary debates on the 2025 national budget, which means it is also the last opportunity for Vice President Sara Duterte to defend her office's budget. However, neither the Vice President nor any representative from the OVP has shown up in the past two sessions, leaving questions about the fate of their budget. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has already certified House Bill number 10800, or the General Appropriations Bill, as urgent. This was addressed to House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez during yesterday's plenary session, allowing for the immediate passage of the measure. House leaders have already set their sights on approving the 6.352 trillion peso national budget by today. They assured that a reenacted budget is not on the table, despite the absence of the OVP in the debates. As of now, the plenary debate remains on schedule. The Department of Public Works and Highways budget is currently being discussed after the budget of the Congress was passed earlier. We're still waiting for the update on the OVP budget and how the House will proceed in the absence of its defense. After the House's approval, the budget will be forwarded to the Senate for review, followed by the bicameral conference committee, and finally for ratification before landing on the President's desk for final approval. Mai?
Hannah, which agencies are still up for discussion in today's plenary debates?
After the Department of Public Works and Highways, we expect the Department of the Social Welfare and Development to be next, including its attached agencies. Other executive offices are also lined up, including the National Commission of Senior Citizens. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you. Hannah T reporting from the Batasang Pambansa. Coming up, all's well that ends well. Senators Mig Zubiri and Alan Peter Cayetano patched things up following a heated exchange Tuesday night. We'll tell you more about that when Newsfeed at Noon returns. Stay with BNC. Welcome to Pathways to Success, a program that supports micro, small, and medium enterprises. I'm Mai Rodriguez.
We are giving spotlight with this innovative business enterprises that shares growth in our community. We support giving these entrepreneurs a chance to fuel their business and be known in the market. Take a look inside their stories, challenges, and success.
The more you learn, the more you earn. For more inspiring stories here on Pathways to Success, here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Rise and shine, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Paolo Del Rosario. Get ready because we prepared a lot of great content for you to make the day even better.
And hello, I'm Monique Tuzon, bringing you a wave of positivity and a splash of happiness. I'm Ann Asis Carrillo. Let's dive into some serious fun, and more fun.
Of course, we hope you found some inspiration.
And good vibes. Every day is
a beautiful day.
On BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
It has no authorization.
We hope and pray that it will not.
Thanks for having me here.
An orchestrated
By myself, basically. We always say that.
It depends.
A well-concerted effort.
Perhaps I can reiterate.
My greatest beefsteak. Iba pala yun.
We're back. You're still on Newsfeed. Two senators nearly coming to blows Tuesday night over a concurrent resolution seeking to prevent the disenfranchisement of voters in the EMBO barangays taken back by the Supreme Court from Makati and given to Taguig. In a video obtained by BNC, it shows the heated exchange between Senators Alan Peter Cayetano, who introduced the resolution, and Migs Zubiri, who pointed out that the resolution was not even in the daily agenda. He also said the Senate is not an institution that passes measures in the midnight hour.
Wala naman sa agenda today, Mr. President. So, my appeal to the good gentleman is give us time to at least explain to us what it is all about. We have no caucus. We've never had a caucus since I asked for one in the beginning of the incumbency of the good Senate President. So I don't know. If we had a caucus, you could have raised it there and said this is a very simple piece of resolution. Biglaan eh. Ngayon ko lang nakita yung document here, just now, when I went down.
Cayetano explained the concurrent resolution only expresses the sentiment of the Senate, and like any other resolution, it does not have a force law. The two senators eventually apologized for their behavior, and the resolution was adopted. Former Senate President Franklin Drilon denies knowing an alleged plan to force his cousin, former Iloilo Mayor Jed Mabilog, to implicate him and ex-Senator Mar Rojas in the illegal drug trade. On BNC's At the Forefront, Drilon said he has not talked to Mabilog since the former mayor came back from a 7-year political exile. Drilon also refused to comment on Mabilog's revelation.
It was when Jed mentioned it that the reason why he avoided or did not see Bato de la Rosa in Krami was that he was going to be forced to implicate me and Mar. That's when he said that. That's the first time I hear of it, about a week ago, when he said we mentioned that in the committee hearing.
On another hot topic, Drilon vouched for Senate President Cheese Escudero amid alleged attempts to replace him just 4 months into the post.
He's a lawyer. He has served the local government for a few years, and he has been a legislator for some time. He is qualified to be Senate President, and I do hope that my former colleagues would see the merit in providing some stability to the Senate. He has been Senate President only since May, if I recall correctly, and yet I hear of rumors and news media reports saying that they're trying to change him. My goodness gracious, but that's their business, not mine anymore.
Turning now to the U.S. campaign trail, former U.S. President Donald Trump laying out some of his economic policies should he retake the White House in November. During a speech in Georgia, Trump vows tax breaks and fewer regulations to encourage foreign companies to relocate in the U.S. He also plans to create special manufacturing zones on federal lands. Trump also reiterated his pledge to lower corporate tax rates, but only for companies that manufacture in the U.S.
So as your president, here is the deal that I will be offering to every major company and manufacturer on earth. I will give you the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burden, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet, but only if you make your product here in America. It all goes away if you don't make your product here.
As the race for the White House enters its final weeks, U.S. President Joe Biden reflects on the tough decision he had to make dropping his re-election bid. Biden used his final UN General Assembly speech to frame his decision as a lesson to world leaders. He says serving the people is more important than staying in power.
Even as we navigate so much change, one thing must not change. We must never forget who we're here to represent. We, the people. This summer, I faced a decision whether to seek a second term as president. It was a difficult decision. Being president has been the honor of my life. There's so much more I want to get done. As much as I love the job, I love my country more. I decided after 50 years of public service, it's time for a new generation of leadership to take my nation forward. My fellow leaders, let us never forget, some things are more important than staying in power. It's your people. It's your people that matter the most.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs facing yet another sexual abuse complaint. It's from a woman accusing the rapper of brutally raping her in 2001 with the help of an accomplice. According to the complaint, Combs also recorded the scene in a video that he circulated.
The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly.
Combs faces racketeering and sex trafficking charges and will remain in jail after a judge denied his request for bail twice. Combs denies all allegations against him and has pleaded not guilty in a federal court in Manhattan. Pope Francis will travel to Luxembourg and Belgium later this week despite a mild flu. The Pope had canceled his meetings on Monday due to his illness, but the Vatican says his later schedules will go on as planned. The trip will be his 46th foreign tour as Pope. It comes less than 2 weeks after he returned from a demanding 12-day tour of the Asia Pacific. Philippine inflation likely slowed further this month. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto believes the inflation print settled at 2.5% in September, lower than the 3.3% recorded in August. He says the tariff reduction on rice imports should help sustain the downtrend in price increases.
Normally, seasonal naman yan. Tuwing fourth quarter, tumataas ang konti. Pero like I said, we expect it to be within the target range of the BSP of anywhere between 2 to 4%. So for the full year, we're looking at the total inflation rate to be about 3.4%.
Recto adds the cooling inflation will give the Bangko Sentral more room to cut interest rates, like the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Ang Fed nagbaba ng 50 basis points or 0.5%. Palagay ko tayo, kaya din natin yung 0.5%.
Senator Grace Poe plans to summon officials of the Bangko Sentral once again amid delays in the printing of national ID cards. Speaking on BNC's agenda, Poe, who chairs the Senate Committee on Finance, insists the central bank has entered into a subcontract arrangement with Allcard to supply the national ID cards. This as the BSP starts engaging with another provider after terminating its original supplier.
Ito naman yung nabalitaan natin ngayon. Meron na namang pilot testing ang Bangko Sentral sa National Printing Office na gagawa na lang nitong national ID cards natin. Pero isa subcontract nila uli sa isa na namang kumpanya na Madras, an Indian company. So talagang doon pa lang makita natin ang daming violations.
Ho says this new contract will translate to additional costs for the government on top of the original $3 billion price tag for the project. Only 67 million IDs out of the 116 million target have so far been printed out.
Ang Central Bank is a very professional organization. Hindi sila sanay dito siguro sa mga proseso ng ganito na politika. Ngayon, I don't know if they're trying to rectify the situation, but it's getting worse. Alam mo, unang-una, dapat talaga ay magsabi ng totoo ang Central Bank kung ano ba talaga ang naging problema dito. I think yung mga susunod kong hakbang ay ipatawag talaga sila. Kasi sabi nila, tuloy-tuloy naman daw yung printing at matatapos daw nila yan kung hindi ako nagkakamali by 2020,
Alright.
2025. But parang hindi ganun yung mangyayari ngayon. So papatawag na lang natin ulit.
Over in Brazil, a speech by the OPEC Secretary General got off to a shaky start after a climate protester ran on stage. OPEC launched its 2024 World Oil Outlook in Rio, where a small group of activists gathered outside the venue. Demonstrators were criticizing the oil industry and described OPEC's event as planning for climate catastrophes. Britain's Duke of Sussex also turning the spotlight on the impact of climate change. Prince Harry's non-profit travel organization, Travelist, is celebrating its 5th anniversary, and he used the event to raise awareness on the irreversible effects of climate change.
We can't ignore the reality of climate change. Every year we break new temperature records. On 22nd of July earlier this year, we experienced the hottest day ever recorded. Dr. Sally Uren's organization, Forum for the Future, shared a report with me that said that somebody born in 2020 is likely to experience 8 times the number of heat waves, 4 times the number of droughts, 3 times the volume of crop failures, and 3 times the number of river floods than a person born in 1960. As a father of 2 children, that's absolutely terrifying. The level of suffering is heartbreaking.
Prince Harry making a case for the protection of children online as well. Speaking at the 2024 Clinton Global Initiative event in New York, the Duke of Sussex warned parents about the harmful effects of social media on children. He says such platforms are designed to create addiction, force-feeding users with mindless content. He also wants social media giants to be held accountable.
Our kids are being targeted. The harmful effects of social media are made by design. While we embolden both youth and parents, we must also hold digital platforms accountable. We need to create programs that teach digital literacy, emotional intelligence, and critical thinking. We need to equip our youth with the skills they need to identify and combat online threats. We need a better digital future, one that we all deserve. We were promised a human experience. Instead, we've been a human experiment.
Philippine and U.S. officials have launched a program aimed at boosting the country's semiconductor industry. Our reporter Sujin Kim is on the scene at the New World Hotel in Makati for the details. Sujin, go ahead.
Mai, the Philippines is taking a significant jump in setting the stage for the country to become a critical contributor to the global semiconductor supply chain. With semiconductors making up 56.9% of the Philippines' total exports, amounting to more than $40 billion, The country's semiconductor manufacturing sector stands out as the second largest contributor to the national economy, ranking among the top 10 exporters nationwide. With this, the country, along with 5 others, Costa Rica, Mexico, Panama, Indonesia, and Vietnam, were chosen to lead the Global Semiconductor Initiative through a series of high-level workshops. The initiative is part of the U.S.-backed International Technology Security and Innovation Fund, or the ITSE Fund. ITSE Senior Coordinator Virginia Kent highlighted the larger impact of these efforts. The program intends to build or help build a skilled workforce, and the workshops are designed to attract investment and innovation by equipping Filipinos with semiconductor expertise. The program includes free educational courses and certifications through a specialized ASU platform for both students and professionals. And those are latest updates from Makati City. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you, Sujin Kim, reporting from Makati. Hopping on the Guess the Bill TikTok trend surely wasn't a good idea for self-confessed Nepo baby Emmanuel Atienza and Miss World Philippines 2024 Krishna Gravides. They're still getting the heat over their very expensive dinner. The supposed price tag of their meal, 132,000 pesos. After getting flack, the group of friends said the post was meant to be satire. Social media users, though, are not buying the explanation. On X, one user painted the irony of Filipino workers having to break their backs just to earn what they can spend in a night. Others are baffled as to why there are people who cannot see what's wrong with the video. But for some, the 100,000 peso dinner bill wasn't a flex, saying the girls got scammed. Case in point, 2,200 pesos for 9 sodas. And before we go, a new emoji is coming to represent us all. An exhausted face with bags under its eyes is one of the 8 new emojis set to debut on smartphones this year. Also included a root vegetable, a harp, a leafless tree, a fingerprint, a shovel, a purple splatter, and a flag for the remote island Sark. The exhausted face emoji was hailed the most anticipated in the World Emoji Awards. Meanwhile, the leafless tree is meant to raise awareness on drought and climate change. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Good afternoon.
Simulan na natin ang agenda. Gumulong na ang plenary debate sa national budget para sa 2025.
Mas malamig na aircon at mas malakas na Wi-Fi. Mga pangako ng SMC-led consortium sa operasyon at maintenance ng NAIA.
Maghapon pa rin bang malakas ang ulan dyan sa Dagupan?
Bandang alas 2 ng hapon, bumuhos na nga ang malakas na ulan. Ito ay nagdulot ng pagbaha.
Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
The Trailblazers, the Disruptors, the Titans of the industry.
We should safeguard our tradition.
We've got 53 sites